Hello guys and welcome back to our channel. So today I am going to be talking about controversial parenting. I do have Israel right here next to me and he has the hiccups and he's going to be talking, probably fussing, and also my dogs are in here with us. This video might be a mess, but we're going to do what we can. I do want to make okay, Boog, steal the camera. I do want to make a disclaimer before I go into the topics that I'm going to be talking about. None of my opinions are up for debate. Be kind in the comment section. Some of these I am pretty neutral on. Others I am not neutral at all. And of course I'll tell you guys which ones I am neutral on and which ones I am not neutral on at all. I personally believe that every single mother just wants to do what's best for their child. Besides abuse, I don't think that there's really a right or wrong answer when it comes to certain subjects. So again, my opinions are not up for debate. I'm not wanting to debate about any of these in the comment section. You can leave your opinions down below, but make sure to be respectful. If you're not, I will delete the comments and you will possibly be blocked. That's just how it goes. Let's talk about the very first subject. So the very first subject I'm going to be talking about is co-sleeping. I'd be lying if I said I haven't co-slept with Israel a couple of times. I would say within the first 2 weeks of his life, there were a few times that I slept with him on my chest. I would usually put him in his bassinet when he was falling asleep, and then he would end up waking up. I'd feed him and then put him on my chest and we slept for the rest of the night. Okay, he's gonna have to join us because he is getting a little bit sad. If you haven't met him yet, this is my son, Israel. He is 2.5 months old right now. So back to what I was saying. The times that I did co-sleep with him, I woke up with my arms completely numb from holding him in place and just absolutely not moving my body even an inch. I just cannot sleep comfortably or soundly with him in my bed. My opinion is that yes, I can see how co-sleeping would be dangerous, but there are actually a lot of really good benefits when it comes to co-sleeping with babies, like studying their heart rate, their temperature, their body temperature, just feeling closer to you. It helps them bond. But again, I can see why it's dangerous because there have been babies that have passed away by co-sleeping. But I also feel like most mothers do have that maternal instinct that tells them not to roll over on their baby. That was me. Like, my whole body was numb just from not moving while I was sleeping because I knew that I had him. I think I'm pretty neutral on the co-sleeping subject. We just don't do it. So the next one I'm gonna talk about is formula versus breastfeeding. Israel is exclusively breastfed. He has not had 1 drop of formula and I hope to keep it that way for as long as he's breastfeeding. This is a very touchy subject for people and I feel like the formula feeding moms get very defensive and upset when breastfeeding moms talk about formula. And I understand that it can be a touchy subject. Breastfeeding is a lot of work. It's really hard. It's very time consuming. It's a full-time job to be feeding your baby. But God made us to be able to provide for our babies with our own bodies. I like to say that yes, fed is best, but breast is better. There's no comparison when it comes to formula and breast milk. Breast milk is 1,000,000 times better for your baby. Your body literally curates exactly what your baby needs at the moment through your breast milk. It is so insane. Like, it's crazy. Like, we ended up getting a cold a couple of weeks ago and Israel was given so many antibodies throughout my breast milk because I was sick and he was sick. So when your baby's saliva is touching your nipple, obviously from them breastfeeding, your body's able to read what your baby needs. I would say that I'm pretty pro breastfeeding because it is what's best for your baby. Sorry, I know that's gonna offend people, but I'm doing this controversial video to share my views and my opinions, so sorry if that offends you. I'm very, very, very pro breastfeeding. The next topic is homeschool versus public school versus private school. I went to private school for 5 years and I loved it, and then my mom switched us all over to public school. I had no issues with public school, but I feel like with the way that the world is going right now, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with putting my son into public school. That's still something that I'm really deciding, but I'm leaning towards either private school or homeschool. I'm sorry if I'm making you sick by like constantly bouncing back and forth and up and down, but he is going down for a nap currently, I think. The next subject is the cry it out method. Okay, so before having a baby, I was very pro cry it out. I didn't really realize why parents have such a tough time with it until I had my baby. It's heartbreaking when your child is crying and you know that you can soothe them and help them feel safe and better and comforted by picking them up and holding them. I think that there are certain situations where the cry it out method might be the best choice. Once we transition him over into his crib, that might be something that we have to implement. But right now, what I'm doing is called the pause. So the pause is essentially a couple of minutes that you wait while your baby is crying. So say Israel wakes up in the middle of the night crying. I wait for 1 to 3 minutes, and sometimes he'll put himself back to sleep, and other times he really does need me. Homemade food versus store-bought food. I think that there are certain store-bought foods that are fine, but as far as like purees and things like that, I will be making my own baby food. I did it as a nanny. It was a lot of fun actually, and that way you know exactly what's going into your baby's food. It's really easy too. All you have to do is pick out the vegetables, the proteins, the fruits, whatever you want, steam it and puree it. And then when they get older, all you have to do is steam it and cut it up into little pieces for them so that they're able to pick it up. All right, so the next one, stay-at-home mom versus a working mom. For me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've always known that I wanted to be a mom, and it was my dream to be a stay-at-home mom, as crazy as that sounds. If it was financially a very hard situation and very hard thing for me to be a stay-at-home mom, I'd rather eat top ramen every single night for dinner than give my baby up to go to work. That's how I feel about it. But my opinion on it is every mom is different. Of course, I've been a nanny because I worked for people who wanted to keep their careers, and that's totally fine. Corporal punishment. So spanking your kid, popping them in the mouth, hitting them, whatever you want to call it. I am against corporal punishment. I actually did a research paper on this in high school and did a lot of research on the mental and emotional effects that it has on children. I just think that if you're angry enough to hit your child for them acting out, you should take a step back, I think. And I know that a lot of the older generation, like my parents and Aidan's parents, would have a different opinion on this because they all grew up with corporal punishment. There was a time that it was allowed in schools, that they actually had a swatter and they would swat the kids. And actually, I even remember when I was in elementary school that my mom gave our principal permission to spank me if they needed to. To me, that's like so crazy. So I'm not for corporal punishment at all. I don't think it's okay to do that to your animals. I don't think it's okay to do that to your children. Spoiling your baby. So picking them up when they cry, rocking them to sleep, tending to their every need, being their mom. If you couldn't tell, I don't think that you can possibly spoil a baby. You can't love them enough. I just don't think that spoiling a baby exists. And I've done some research on it, and the research that I found says that you actually cannot spoil a child until they're about 1.5 years. I don't know how true that is. Taking care of your baby, picking him up when he cries, rocking him to sleep, holding him while he sleeps, is just a part of being a mom and loving your child and taking care of your child. So I just don't believe that spoiling your baby is even a thing. Now, when it comes to older kids, I definitely think you can spoil your children. All right, so the last subject that I'm gonna touch on is probably the biggest, and that is circumcision. Prior to getting pregnant with a boy, I was very pro circumcision. But that was because I hadn't done any research. I didn't know the truths about American circumcision. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought uncircumcised penises are ugly. Circumcision is the way to go. If you don't circumcise your kid, then he's gonna end up with a bunch of UTIs. I had the very American view on circumcision. But when I found out I was pregnant with a boy, I was like, oh, this is actually a very real decision I have to make. I want to be an informed parent when it comes to this choice. As I started researching and watching documentaries, my eyes were completely open to the truth of American circumcision. And I am very, very, very against circumcision. And that is not up for debate at all. America is the only place that offers circumcision up on a silver platter. Like, oh, you're getting your boy circumcised. No other country in the world has this as a normal, routine surgery. Like, this is not normal in every other country. You go over to Europe and it's almost unheard of for someone to be circumcised. And in Canada, you're actually questioned when you ask for your boy to be circumcised. Like, it's very taboo almost. Like, people don't do it. So there's 2 documentaries that I watched that really changed my mind about circumcision. One of them is on Netflix and it's called American Circumcision. And I actually learned there that Jewish circumcision, so circumcision of the Bible, is very drastically different than American circumcision is. So Jewish circumcision is basically the tiniest piece of skin cut off at the very tip of the penis, and that's it. American circumcision is to remove the entire foreskin. The next documentary that I made Aidan watch with me while we had Israel, he was only like 2 or 3 days old, was called, I think, An Elephant in the Hospital Room, An Elephant in the Operating Room. I'll link them both down below if you're interested. But it showed a baby being circumcised, and I was holding my 3-day-old baby, and it literally like puts a lump in my throat thinking about this, watching a circumcision be done. And I look over at Aidan and his whole face goes white. And he says, he's like, I feel so sick. We can't do this to our son. We're not doing this to our son. And I felt so relieved when we finally came to the decision to not circumcise him, because there's studies done that the trauma that circumcision causes stays in the child's brain for their entire lives. Yes, they may not remember it, but the trauma is still there. Now, a lot of people say, oh, the babies, they don't even cry when they're circumcised. The reason the babies don't cry is because their bodies go into shock. They are supposed to wait like 15 minutes for the numbing agent to completely kick in so that the baby isn't able to feel it, but they don't even wait 5 minutes usually. And so yes, the babies do feel most of the time their skin being cut off. I didn't realize how barbaric circumcision was. I didn't realize that they strap your child's arms and legs down on a cold table, and from there they use an instrument that is so barbaric to cut off their foreskin. And I think that a lot of people don't know what goes on in the circumcision operation room. Like, they just don't know. They just think it's a normal thing. It's the best thing for my child. But the funny thing is that we are so for male circumcision, but when it comes to women's circumcision, oh my gosh, that's too far. Don't even talk about women's circumcision. It's the same thing. You're cutting off part of their sex organ, and intact males actually have a better sex life. The foreskin that they're cutting off is actually the most sensitive part of the penis. I could go on and on and on and on about this subject, but I am gonna get off of my soapbox and stop there. If you guys would like an in-depth video about me talking more about this subject, I'm totally open to do that. For the most part, I'm a pretty open box when it comes to my life and my beliefs. If you are a part of our channel, you would definitely know that I don't shy away from almost anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. Also, thank you guys so much for 10,000 subscribers. We hit 10,000 yesterday, and yesterday was our 1-year anniversary of being on YouTube. So it's so awesome that we hit 10K on that day. So I am going to give this week's shout out to Karen Burns. So shout out to you, Karen. And if you would like a shout out, all you have to do is make sure to be subscribed and comment down below. All right, so I think this verse is very fitting for this video. So this verse is John 7:24, and it says, "Stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly." So if you guys have any prayer requests, make sure to leave those down below. Or if they're too personal, you can always DM either me or Aidan on our Instagrams. You guys are loved, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.